How's it going, guys? Welcome to the Trades and Grades YouTube channel. I'm Noah Wright, and today we'll be going over part 2 of how to fix your Dynasty fantasy football team. If you didn't see part 1, click on this link right up here. We went over everything you need to know, and I'm going to be doing a real-life example with one of my teams that I've recently torn down. So essentially, we went over how to figure out if you need to go for the ship, if you're kind of in the middle part, or if you need to tear down. You just don't want to be stuck in the middle by the end of the year. So I'm going to use a real life example of one of the teams I've done recently in the last couple of weeks. And we went ahead and we looked at my team in the last video. We went ahead and looked at a trade I made. And now we'll be looking at some other trades I've made within the last week or so. So if you haven't seen that, go click on that link. But before we get into any trades, guys, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, hit the subscribe button. It would mean a lot. We've been growing over the last couple of weeks. Hit 50 subscribers. We're looking to hit 100 now, so smash that subscribe button, guys. It really helps us, give us motivation to grow this content, continue. We're going to be having a lot of different rookie profiles coming out with the offseason. We just did a new rookie mock draft. If you click on this link up here, that could take you to that if you're into that. And it'll help show where some of these rookies are at in our eyes moving forward. Obviously, things can change. But before we go any further, guys, we appreciate all of the love and support you're giving us. Again, like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. All right, guys, let's get into trade number 2 that I made on this team. We decided to tear it down. Just was not going to be able to contend with some of the other teams in our league, even though we had a decent record. So we're just going to go ahead and list out who we had through this trade. So I was receiving A.J. Brown. I'm giving up Allen Robinson, Tyler Lockett, Christian McCaffrey, in a 2024 fifth. I just threw that on top because that was just something that he wanted on top, and I was like, whatever, that's fine, I'll give it to him. Christian McCaffrey has been an amazing running back over the last 5 or so years. However, he's got mileage on him. The last few years he's been hurt. And I'm not quite sure he's going to have the same upside in San Francisco as he will or as he has in the past with Carolina. So getting rid of an aging running back, Tyler Lockett, Allen Robinson, 2 older wide receivers that if I'm not going to win this year, I just don't really see them being on my roster. In a rebuild doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Get a young wide receiver 1, probably a top 5 or 6 wide receiver in Dynasty overall, and A.J. Brown. Very excited about that. It felt like the right move to make at the time because our trade deadline is coming up, and it was somebody that I was super excited about getting in A.J. Brown. That's one of the biggest things that I can recommend is getting rid of those aging players, like especially running backs. Now, Tyler Lockett and Allen Robinson might have a few more years because wide receivers have a longer shelf life, but there's just really no point in having older assets in a rebuild. And even though sometimes it might seem like you're taking a loss, you're really, at the end of the day, getting as much value as you can get out of it. Speaking of getting value out of aging players, this next trade is probably one of my favorites I've made in a while because we don't really know how long Tom Brady is going to be playing for. And so when you have a team that's rebuilding, again, Tom Brady is just not going to be a factor. So had him hoping to contend, clearly not going to happen. This is a super flex league. To reiterate, this is super flex. So quarterback, they come at a premium. But I get rid of Tom Brady in a 2024 fourth, and I get in return Wan'Dale Robinson in a 2024 second. For me, that is essentially getting like 2 seconds for Brady in a fourth, which is totally fine with me. That's kind of what my asking price was to the league. I wanted at least 2 seconds. And so you get a high upside guy with Wan'Dale, young, pretty much the only wide receiver for the Giants right now, kind of a gadgety type player, but should be good for PPR leagues, which is my league. And then 2024 second, which we don't really know what that's going to be yet, but at least gives you kind of a dart throw of perhaps getting, the next T. Higgins or DK in the second round or Amon-Ra St. Brown. Those are the types of names you can throw out. Obviously, the hit rate on those aren't great, but it gives you an opportunity after we got rid of an aging asset in Tom Brady. All right, here's the final trade for this video. So this was kind of one that just fell to me. I had a couple guys in Cordell Patterson, Brandon Cooks. Evan Ingram's not too old, but Patterson and Cooks are getting up there. and I wasn't sure if they'd be able to benefit me moving forward. Another thing I talked about in the first video is you don't really want players on your team that are just going to score you points when you're trying to do a productive struggle. And you don't want to tank your team because you want to have good players, but you also don't want to have these older players scoring you a bunch of points and hurting your chances of getting a better pick. So getting Patterson off my team and Cooks for Claypool, who I'm going to be a little biased because I'm a Bears fan, but I think he has a chance to be able to do something. Obviously, the Bears want him there for some reason. They gave up a second rounder for him. So I'm hoping that they'll use him appropriately. And then 2025 first, I don't usually trade for picks that far in advance, but again, this is kind of something that just came to me. And so I was fine with it because, I mean, while that could be a late pick in that year, that also could be like a top 3 pick. And if you go back in a couple years and we're in the 2025 pick, and you have to remember, like, this is Dynasty, but when we're in that draft class, I'm probably going to be thrilled I made this trade to get rid of a 30-some-year-old running back, Brandon Cooks, who's an older wide receiver, and Evan Ingram. Those guys might not even be in the league at that point. And I'll get a young wide receiver in a 2025 first. So while this might seem like kind of a weird trade, I was definitely happy with it. All right, so let's look at a little recap of who we have left on our team here and see where we're standing after these trades. So quarterback, I did fail to mention I had a couple guys in my IR in the first video that are kind of key to knowing like that we're going to be okay, I guess, with leaving Tom Brady out and losing Christian McCaffrey. So we do have Carson Wentz at quarterback. I forgot to mention that he's been on the IR. So we have Derek Carr, Carson Wentz, Sam Ellinger, which is very mid and gross, but they are serviceable quarterback twos. We can work on that moving forward. Javonte Williams is the guy that we're hoping we can try and build around. Once he gets back healthy, maybe we can trade him for high value. Kareem Hunt, Michael Carter, Rashad Penny. Now there are other players, but they're not really as important / notable. I kind of put the main guys on here for the most part. Cooper Kupp at wide receiver, A.J. Brown, Wan'Dale Robinson, Deontay Johnson, Curtis Samuel, Chase Claypool. It's an okay, this is clearly a rebuild. At this point, we're just hoping that in the offseason, Kupp when he gets healthy, that we can sell him because he's going to be 30 years old, even though he's a wide receiver 1. I'm looking to try and flip him if I can get really one of the top couple wide receivers out of this past 22 class. Garrett Wilson, Drake London, one of those guys. If I can get something plus, I'm doing that all day. If I have to do it straight up, I might do that just because you want to get value, and I'm not sure Cooper Kupp's really going to bring me a whole lot of value moving forward that makes sense for my team. Because this seems like we're going to have to do a complete tear down and rebuild. A.J. Brown, again, one of those guys you probably want to build around, but if a good offer comes in and it makes sense for our team, clearly we need a lot more help depth-wise. So if we get a couple first-rounders, you might have to take that. And then Kyle Pitts. Pitts is still my tight end 1 for Dynasty, even though Mark Andrews has been having a far better year. He's been somewhat injured, but Pitts, I know he's hurt a lot of owners, but to me, at the age and the profile he has, he's just been extremely unlucky with the quarterback in coaching situations. Statistically, he's been fine. So we're building around him. He's going to be a huge asset for our team to come. Okay, guys, that concludes it for this episode. I will probably be coming out with a 3rd episode to show any final moves I make to this team, and then give you guys an idea of how I finished for the season. And then moving on to next year, I'll be sure to give you guys an update on how this team's doing. Maybe even give you a little preview into who I'm going to draft for the 2023 class. As of right now, I only have a 2023 first and a 23 second. However, I might be making some moves to get some more 23 draft capital. So in the meantime, watch this video here about the 2023 class. Get you really excited. We just made this mock draft. I mentioned it earlier, but seriously, it is one of the more fun things that we've done so far in this show. I'm super pumped for this class. So you can go ahead and click on this link, watch this video, guys, and I'll see you next time.